It's over 1 million metric tons of gold, and it also includes gemstones, artwork, and in my tweet I showed how the CIA and the International Court of Justice were still trying to regain control over the assets. These are the assets that Ferdinand Marcos preserved for us. At the end of World War II, Ferdinand Marcos, who was the lawyer for José Rizal, the superior general of the Jesuits at the time, put the world's international monetary gold reserves and other wealth into a trust called the Global Debt Facility for the benefit of humanity for 50 years. The story of how the CIA overthrew Ferdinand Marcos's presidency in the Philippines went viral on the internet last week. I'll summarize the story, which a friend in the Philippines uploaded on the internet and forwarded to me. A prominent journalist in the Philippines, Eric A. San Juan, originally published this story in 1998. San Juan was friends with James Brandon Foley, a CIA agent in the U.S. Embassy in 1986 when the EDSA revolution overthrew Ferdinand Marcos. EDSA is named for Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, the street of the CIA and Vatican-engineered demonstrations against Ferdinand Marcos. The story also includes how Ted Koppel and Newsweek tried to destabilize Ferdinand Marcos, how the mainstream media ran stories blackmailing the Marcoses, and they gave promises to the workers and renegade generals that they would be able to immigrate to the United States. Cardinal Jaime Sin played a very prominent role. Sin told Cory Aquino, who ended up replacing Marcos, that she should hide in a Cebu convent during the coup. The CIA used traitor Voltaire Gazmin to secure Cory in Cebu. After the coup, Marcos left the Philippines and went to Hawaii. He did this peacefully to prevent deaths during this seizure of power, and he did this at the insistence of Cardinal Sin, who was backed up by the Vatican and by the United States State Department. Cory ended up heading the Philippines after the coup, and here is the deal that was offered to Ferdinand Marcos by the Trilateral Commission, which Marcos turned down. He was told that he should sign over all the assets in the Global Debt Facility, except for 1/4 of 1% commission. And by the way, that amount of the commission, that is the amount of the commission that we are going to be offering those people who will be signing these assets, because as I've been mentioning, these assets are still in the Global Debt Facility. They're available, and they're the assets that we are going to be using in the global currency reset. Another part of the deal that was offered to Ferdinand Marcos for signing away the world's wealth was that the Philippines should lose their own currency, and the Philippines currency would become dollar denominated, and people in the Philippines, instead of being given actual money, would have to use a debit card system. By the way, that's what's now in place in Norway. They're experimenting with the Norwegians on that approach. And the other thing that they were asking Ferdinand Marcos to sign away was to sign away all the natural resources, to give the bankers perpetual rights to natural resources in the Philippines. In my tweet where I forwarded this story, I included a list of the assets in the Global Debt Facility. It's over 1 million metric tons of gold, and it also includes gemstones, artwork. And in my tweet, I showed how the CIA and the International Court of Justice were still trying to regain control over the assets. These are the assets that Ferdinand Marcos preserved for us.
Where's the gold?
400,000 metric tons are in the Central Bank of the Philippines. There's over 200,000 metric tons in Union Bank of Switzerland. And some of that gold is buried securely in the Philippines as well. Some of it is held in various banks. but the bulk of it is in the Philippines.
So the World Bank holds the note on that gold?
No, it is in a special trust account that was set up by Ferdinand Marcos and the authorized signatories.
So how do the people get the gold back? If it's their gold and it was taken by these bankers, how do we receive it?
That is the question. And they're just sitting there illegally and refusing to relinquish it. Part of the problem is that this gold is cloaked in secrecy. But in the last month, Wolfgang Struck has been publishing all of the documentation. So it's there for people to see. We have the originals. And people just have to make sure that the banks do what they're required to do, which is release the world's wealth.
Gold for gold, dollar for dollar, this country, the Maharlika, is the richest country in the world. During a talk show in American TV, the week following the 9/11 bombing of the New York Twin Towers on September 11, 2001, President Bush asked this question. Which is the richest country in the world today? With a smile he said, the Philippines.